Hello and welcome to my guide to farming the new Fereldan castle map. This guide will tell you zone by zone the best areas to lock down as a team, as well as highlighting the most dangerous areas to be, so you know where to avoid when possible, thus giving you and your team the best chance of survival. In Zone 1 you have very limited choice of choke points. However, there is a few areas which you can position your team in to manipulate the spawns to your advantage. The areas I initially lock down is here. Then I progress up the stairs before the bridge here. These areas will pull enemy ranged units towards you. The first area will pull for obvious reasons, it's round a corner, and the second because they cannot gain solid line of sight until they cross the bridge somewhat when you're at the foot of the stairs. The two main spawn points for this zone are either side of the bridge. You ideally want to block off the spawn before the stairs and have the enemies spawn at the end of the bridge to prevent you from being attacked from both sides. And this can be done by simply just not crossing the bridge. There are two areas which the dragon will strafe over, dealing heavy AoE elemental damage as it passes over, and these areas are highlighted here. High value targets here are terrors, gladiators and guards. Zone 2 again does not have very good choke points, which can be problematic as despair demons, knights and mages all spawn here, so a more aggressive approach will likely be the most successful. My strategy is to attack the first group of enemies from behind this wall as shown here. When they respawn, humanoid enemies will come down from the ladder to your right, and non-humanoids will come from the stairs behind you, so be conscious of this. When the first group stops respawning, push up past the wall and up to the stairs in front of you. Do not stay in this area though, as the dragon can pass over and attack you with its elemental breath. Then aggressively push into the top spawn, taking out the despair demons, knights and mages as a priority. You should be cautious of enemies respawning from either side of you, though these enemies will be small in number and relatively manageable. Zone 3 has varying difficulty depending on which faction you face. If you're fighting Venatori or Red Templars, then take out the enemies at the top, trigger the drawbridge, aggro the last group and then drop down the ladder as shown, and lock down the room below. Humanoid enemies will drop down the ladder one at a time, allowing you to easily kill them as soon as they arrive. However, non-humanoid enemies, most notably horrors and shadows, will take the scenic route and arrive through the doorway here, so be aware of that. If you're fighting demons, however, then you'll need to take a whole new approach. Locking down the room is not an option, as there's no humanoid enemies in the faction that are able to drop down the ladder, and despair demons will throw down ice runes underneath you and knock you down repeatedly, even if they don't have line of sight on you. Therefore, the best course of approach is for 2 or 3 of your team members to hold the line over the drawbridge, using the buildings for cover when you need it, while the others flank around the right hand side. This will split the aggro between the two groups and allow both teams' ranged units to pick off the despair demons one at a time without getting overwhelmed by melee units. Do not, however, fight on the drawbridge itself or around the gong, as the dragon will perform strafe runs around these areas. High priority targets for this area are despair demons, horrors, shadows and stalkers. Zone 4 is probably the most difficult zone because of the limited cover and elevated positioning of ranged units on the battlements. As soon as you reach this zone, head right, up the stairs and lock down the area here. The initial group of enemies will follow you in from behind, so make sure this is dealt with before aggroing the next group. The front doorway will act as a kill zone, and your ranged units can position themselves here to pick off ranged units positioned on the stairs, or more importantly, units positioned here. Do keep in mind that the dragon can still hit you with the elemental projectiles when in this building. There isn't much strategy here other than just to hold the line. Heavy units such as pride demons or behemoths will block the doorway, preventing other units from coming through and swarming you, so you should be able to do this assuming you have some sort of crowd control ability present. The only thing you really need to be concerned about is shadows and stalkers that may slip through and attack from behind. Otherwise, just be patient. Don't run out to attack archers or stray enemies with low health, or you'll most likely be turned into a pincushion on the floor. High priority targets for this zone are mages, shadows, stalkers and archers of course. And lastly, the dragon fight. First, split off and wind the trebuchets 7 turns in preparation from when the dragon lands on top of the towers while the dragon's flying around. Then close in on the dragon and attack it when it lands. Do not stay too far from your team, and don't stay too far from the dragon itself, as the hurricane-style attack will deal heavy damage to any player not in close proximity, often killing them. When the dragon flies off and lands on the tower, you should all head towards the trebuchet opposite it. Dragonlings will close in on you and your team, so make sure the player manning the trebuchet is well protected. Fire the trebuchet and rewind it 7 turns to prepare for the next launch. Repeat this until the dragon's dead. Congratulations, you have now completed Fereldan Castle. Enjoy your increased XP and disappointing loot drops. Thanks for watching, goodbye.